Just let me take a moment between that wonderful inspirational piece and the opportunity to really enjoy with my heart, not my head, each of you. My beloved community. Now, I didn't title the lesson, My Beloved Community, because I knew when I said that you would all think, well, of course, you're the spiritual leader. It's your beloved community. But I'm going beyond that, and I'm saying no. Importantly, and most importantly, can you say, my beloved community? You know, I'm obviously getting the opportunity to share with many family and friends that I am now your spiritual leader, one of two. And it feels like such a wonderful affirmation. There are no coincidences, where people will say, I see a glow in your eye. And it's an affirmation for me, not just as an ego thing, but rather, wow, the love that I am, the love that you are providing me in this opportunity is being seen by those who don't even know you. Is this true for you? I want to create a space, if I can, to connect with you as beloved community, and that means a lot of different things. Can you say with me, this is my beloved community?
This is my beloved community.
And now I want you to pause for a moment. Now I want you to imagine that you're standing in front of one of your friends or family. And I want you to take that sentence and put it in your heart. And now will you say again, this is my beloved community?
This is my beloved community.
That's what I want all of us to embody together. Beloved. What does beloved actually mean? Dearly loved, precious, adored, treasured, cherished, and revered. Are you ready to claim this? Okay. Not everybody. Maybe you need a little time. So, what is a beloved community to you? What would, I'll say, trigger you that when you walk in those doors, you say to yourself, ah, my beloved community? I want you to pause just for a moment, first to think for yourself. What would it be like, and what would it take that when you walk in those doors, you think, ah, my beloved community? So can you give me a couple words or phrases? Joy. In other words, if you experience joy. And, Consensus. Acceptance. Connection. Inspiration. The presence here on holy ground. What will that take? Because we're all going to agree on everything we put forward, right? That's the underlying conversation here. Here's what I think is important to our beloved community. That you are seen and that you are heard. Now, Johnny, you and I share a lot of emails back and forth as new spiritual director and board. But did you and I coordinate our lessons today? Contemplation? No. Yes, we did. I know that Johnny's doing her spiritual practice and I'm doing my spiritual practice because her contemplation service today was reverberating a wonderful gift from Reverend Lisa to the practitioners on deep listening. And lo and behold, deep listening is one of the things that I have listed. So you know, if you read the e-blast, our weekly e-newsletter, that Reverend Michael and I are going on a listening tour. And we've been spending time individually and together with staff, practitioners, board, and I'm working on appointments with volunteers. Continuing to just, where are you? Where are you at about this community? And I'll have to say that in most meetings, we interrupt each other. And those interruptions come from, you know, a feeling like, oh, I need to get my thing in first. Or sometimes, yeah, I already know what your question is and I have an answer for you. Oh, I've already done the work on that. What happens when we do that? Is it deep listening? And so I'm bringing that up here because, as of course, for those of you I haven't met with yet, you have an advantage of what I'm you have an advantage of what I'm doing and what I'm looking for. But I really want to call to this community as we meet, and we will have volunteer meetings, and we will meet on projects as things get rolling here. I've only been here 2 weeks now. But I want to say that I would like our meetings to have moments of pauses where we are not interrupting each other. It will create a different feeling of respect and understanding that each expression is seen, heard, and respected. I think also in this beloved community that it's important that you feel that you are loved. Is that not one of the largest reasons why we come? You know, when I was candidating with Reverend Michael, you might remember that we had put up an easel and asked, what is community? We did the same thing at Greater Chico. And during one of my next lessons, I'll be sharing those two brainstorms of what is community. And, no surprise, one of them is that you feel loved. And in order to be seen, heard, respected, and loved, trust. Trust is a key value that I believe that in order to have a safe place where you can share, be seen, and heard, it's important. Trusting your leaders, trusting each other, and holding respect for each other even when we don't agree. Now, I want people to know that many people already know me, but I'm authentic and I'm transparent. And if you were to ask my colleagues in the California State University, those words would probably come up, certainly the transparent part. And so I want to say to you, well, first of all, have you heard of the Science of Mind principle, quote, precedent is not principle is not bound by precedent. Do you know what that means? No matter what has come before, principle, the one truth, cannot be bound by what's happened before. And so, what I am looking for is truth. And I want you to be honest with me, of course, with kindness and respect. And I'm going to say I'm not interested in elephants in the room. And it's really important to me. And it's a principle that practitioners learn when they are taking their classes. That when you have something to say, where do you go back to? The source. Not around and about, but the source. And I will continue to say I am available. I'm the one right now creating the appointments. I suspect that will change in time. But I'm interested in truth, in honesty, again with kindness and respect. And should grapevine happen, because it does, don't be surprised if I go back to the source where I heard it came from, because I will not want the elephant in the room. So I'll be speaking more about each of these things that I just mentioned. I'll be speaking June 12th, Heaven and Earth begins here, and Heaven on Earth begins here and now. And then also June 26th, Science of Mind Principles on Unity and Wholeness. So back to beloved community. I would imagine that we want, based on what we had both put for what is community, one of the common words was connected. Connected to the organization that I sort of got from people is full of life, full of opportunities. What does that mean to you? Connected to an organization that is full of life. Give me some tangible things that you might see that would make you feel connected to an organization full of life. Thoughts about that?
Sparkling integrity.
Sparkling integrity, so you see that in the people when you walk in?
I did.
Okay.
Very well.
Excellent. Thank you. What else? Like-minded souls. Mm-hmm. And that we have similar values, and hence when you're sharing the like-mindedness based on those values and the principles, which is our Science of Mind principles. Sharon? Excellent. Expressions of, say that for me one more time.
Common mission.
A common mission. Okay? Community, yeah. Yes. And so involved usually means somehow you're connected. Now granted, sometimes we're in points of life, whether it's children, jobs, whatever the case may be, where we just need to sit and be, well, May is revitalized. Yes? And at the same time, when it comes to the point of I feel nourished, I feel strong, we would ask that we become connected by engagement through the expression of who you are. What are your gifts? And really what I would like to get to, I'm thinking about a retreat, church-wide retreat, living your purpose. Because if you know your gifts and you know your purpose, and you express those by the law of attraction, life will be full and abundant. So, one way that it's for Centers for Spiritual Living, and going back to Ernest Holmes, our founder, you know, Science of Mind and the Institute of Religious Science actually did not start as a church. It was really more of a philosophy and teaching. And so I also think that one of our common values, the opportunity to connect, happens through engaging together and learning together. As we said, our motto, living, loving, and I want to emphasize learning together, growing together. Would growing together provide a sense of, my beloved community? Still don't have a lot of strong yeses, but we'll work on that. You need to know that you are all teachers, whether you claim yourself to be or not, and you are all students. I am a student learning from each of you. Every experience you have is an opportunity and a nugget for me to learn for my life, and vice versa. And I want to continue to say, because I'm not sure, if you haven't visited a lot of other centers for spiritual living, by contrast, let me express it the other way. If you haven't been to a lot of centers for spiritual living, you may not recognize what we have here. But if you have visited others, you might recognize that the 30 years that this center has been alive, in whatever forms it has been, has created a consciousness that allows us to bond, to share, as teachers and as students. You know, there's many people in this community who've taken Science of Mind 4, Science of Mind 1, Science of Mind 2, Science of Mind 3, and Science of Mind 4, which is 2 years. There are many of you that chose not necessarily to get signed on the dotted line as a minister or as a practitioner, but the consciousness of the philosophy is very rich here, whether you know that or not. And the only way for us to grow together is to have opportunities to share the teaching and learning together. Opportunities, key word. Now, sometimes when we practice, things don't look very pretty, do they? Right? Yeah. I mean, if you've never been an acrobat and you're going to learn to do, they don't call it acrobats anymore, but gymnastics, it's probably going to look pretty, or yoga, right? Yeah. So what do you think it looks like when we practice spiritual principle together? It is all divine, right? That's a trick question. I saw the pause. Is that supposed to be a yes or a no? It is all divine, even if we don't recognize it as divine. So, I've already, as I mentioned, gone on a listening tour. And in the words of Frank Sinatra, I did it my way. What if it doesn't happen my way? So I've been on the job for 2 weeks, and not to my surprise, I've already gone on this listening tour, and I take a deep breath, already hearing people say things like, I don't ever want to see again, blah, blah, blah. And and they're pretty adamant about what they want to see and what they don't want to see. And I'm going to be honest with you in that the first thing I have to do is say to myself, don't fear them leaving. Love them. See them. Hear them. And let God do the rest. Because I will not and cannot control the diverse expressions that each of you are going to express when we're in community together. And some things you're going to like, and some things you're not going to like. I think that's a good thing. Abraham Hicks would say, when you're in contrast, you all of a sudden get a rocket of desire about what you do want and what you don't want. And I hear a lot of people telling me what they don't want. Okay, good, thank you. It doesn't help me. I want to hear it. I need to know it. But it leaves guesswork. You know, I don't want this, and I don't want that, and I don't want this. And it's like, okay, can you tell me what you do want? And can you tell me what you do want, not in the sense of, okay, I want 3 classes a week, and I want to make sure, you know. Can you tell me what your intention is for beloved community? Okay. I'm sincere about the fact that I am hoping and expecting that together, my beloved community, that we will grow our emotional and spiritual intelligence together. And it's not my way or the highway. It's our way. I have a book here called SQ21, The 21 Skills of Spiritual Intelligence. I've asked the practitioners to buy this book and for us to engage in spiritual practice, basically through book study. But I invite all of you, if you're interested, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the book, to ask Sherry, I warned her in the bookstore, that we were going to be using this book as an opportunity to go deeper together. You know, we only have so much time together here on Sunday mornings. If you're interested in what gets said, go deeper. If you don't want to go deeper, that's fine. Everybody gets what they need. And so the fact that we as a group want to do spiritual practice together, this book does a couple things for us.
What's the name of it again?
SQ21, The 21 Skills of Spiritual Intelligence. Okay, so let me first start out with my beloved community. This is opportunity number 1. You don't have to take every opportunity because, believe me, there are so many ideas that we plan to put into practice here that there's going to be lots of opportunities for you to choose where you would like to spiritually grow. This book begins on page 10. What is spiritual intelligence anyway? We've all heard of emotional intelligence, right? And of course, we've all heard IQ. Maybe a little bit of a misnomer there, and I'll get into that. But on page 10, it says, spiritual intelligence is the ability to behave with wisdom and compassion while maintaining inner and outer peace, regardless of the situation. Regardless of how somebody else is expressing, you are able to know deeply who you are and to know the peace that is deep within you. Cindy talks about a foundation of spiritual intelligence. I want you to imagine a triangle. And at the base of that triangle, the first one is physical intelligence. And you might think of this as when a baby comes into the world. What's the first thing we're learning to do? How to run this body, right? And granted, I'm going to go through the other quote-unquote intelligences, but sometimes we get called back to that first layer, do we not? to take care of our physical nature. The second aspect, no surprise, is the cognitive, better than intelligence, because intelligence sounds like intelligent, dumb. No, that's not it. It's growing because it is elastic, just like a rubber band, just like our muscles. We can grow our mental muscle. And so the second thing we usually do is go to school and we start cognitively growing. The next level, I'll just say teenager. What does that mean? Emotional intelligence. And at the pinnacle of the triangle is spiritual intelligence. Now, the truth is that we all grow these different intelligences at different rates. And of course, we don't have measurements that measure all these things. But based on our life experience and things that may have happened to us, I have lots of experience with this in the sense of, as you know, my son was adopted. His mom was murdered when he was 1 year old. And his cognitive intelligence was way beyond his emotional intelligence. And that was hard. But we grew those. And again, we all grow these at different stages and different times of life. Now, the book goes on to talk about, so let's say we want to grow our spiritual intelligence. And is that sort of what this community is about? I was hoping I'd get a stronger yes. Centers for Spiritual Living. And how do you know when you're growing your spiritual intelligence? How do you know that a month ago you've grown? Is there any way to really tell that? Yeah, but you could be uncomfortable and not spiritually growing.
Acceptance of change.
Okay. Yes, it does reflect back to you. And to be honest, it's sort of like drip method water in that a year from now you may go, oh yeah, I remember when money was a struggle, relationship was a struggle, job was a struggle. But you usually don't see it the next day, right? So how are we going to measure our spiritual growth together? The book has some ideas. The 4 areas of spiritual intelligence, and they put this one in a box that's a quadrant, right? So imagine a line, and they basically have grow your self-awareness. And there's parts of you that other people know about you that you don't know yourself, right? And I say that because some people use science of mind principle as, you got a problem with me? Look in the mirror. Universal awareness. And this is really an awareness of there's more than one truth. Self-mastery, spiritual practice. And the last one has 2 names, social mastery and spiritual presence. Because I believe when you know your spiritual presence, then you will have social mastery. And believe it or not, at the end of the book, Cindy, this book is not having to do with any particular religion. She was explicit about how could spiritual intelligence work for everybody, regardless of what your faith is. And no surprise, at the end of the book, she gives some exercises to support spiritual development. What do you think you find? Something very similar to science of mind treatment. So obviously, for those of you who haven't been around the community, science of mind classes is one way, is opportunity number 2, is one way to learn more about these principles, spiritual principles, and to grow your spiritual intelligence in those 4 areas. Now, we'll be putting up a lineup of science of mind classes for the fall that's going on in the background. But I have opportunity number 3. 3 opportunities in one Sunday. Wow. And I know that you got to see it briefly. You saw it in the e-blast, but I'm going to spend a little time on it. This class with Scott Wyman, reconnecting to being, exploring the self, little s, Exploring the self to discover the self. And I haven't taken the class myself, but I have talked with multiple people who have taken the class. I do similar spiritual practices, and what Scott is teaching is foundational for spiritual growth and spiritual practice. And many of you I know have said, I've been a part of this community for a long time. I already know the science of my classes. I've already taken them. Okay. Opportunity. And if you feel like the time or the money is an issue, go talk to Scott. I think he'll work with you. Okay. Now I'm going to go through two metaphors and then I will wrap up. The first metaphor is, this is a quarter, and I know you all can't see it, right? But you've seen quarters before. All right, I'm holding up this quarter. I'm holding up this quarter. And if you could see this quarter, what would you describe that you see? Now, just think about it for a minute. So imagine that you're staring at this quarter. What would you describe that you see? So, you over here, I want you to describe to these people what you see. Okay? Closer. Closer. Zoom in. Just, you will, yes, thank you, Jenny. Yeah. What do you see on the quarter? What do you see? One side sees a head and the other side sees tails. Okay, now this represents a problem, a project, an issue. Have you ever been with maybe your siblings where you tell them they're just blatantly wrong? They don't know the truth. They don't know the answer because they're not really seeing the problem correctly? And then what do you say? You're the one not seeing the truth. What would compassion do? How do you honor both sides? So first you have to stop doubting the other person's perspective. That's trust and faith. And then when you stop doubting, you literally might join the other side of the room and go, oh, I see what you're saying. Now let's pretend that this is a fixed problem or issue. You know, Stephen Covey in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People would say you seek first to understand. So I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about when we're in meetings, or whatever they may be, deep listening. There may be a perspective you don't already see. And in some sense, it's second nature. I mean, you can catch me in this because I know I'll do it too. I think I already know what you're saying. I think I already might know what the answer is. Have I taken the time to deeply listen? All right, and Crystal, if you could, metaphor number 2. Yeah, Pink Floyd. Crystal, you deserve the recognition for that, because I know what this makes me think of. It's like, that's not why I chose this. Tell me what you see here. First on the left, you see white light. Yeah? Is white light the absence of light or the mixture of all colors of light? We, beloved community, are the white light together. God, higher power, whatever you want to call spirit, we together are the white light. That is the truth of our being. And what happens when the white light hits the prism? Love it. Yes, the prism bends the white light, and because the different colors bend at different amounts, white light gets split into the full spectrum. What do you think about the rainbow? If we didn't have those colors, what would the world be like if we could only see black and white? Or I like to say, what if we, and there's places in the world that's like this, so again, I'm recognizing abundance. What if you only ate rice every single day? What I'm saying is, variety is the spice of life, is it not? And do you believe that when your neighbor sees a different perspective? I love the giggle. The prism is all of us as spirit being now placed into this body, into this form. And in this form, we are in this community. Pick yourself a color. Pick yourself a color. Did you all pick the same color? Let me see. Did you all pick red? Anybody? Did you pick yellow? Oh, this is interesting. Did you? Maybe nobody picked. Did you pick green? Did you pick blue? Ah, that's the favorite color. Did you pick purple? Oh, wow. We are in a spiritual community. Okay, I get it. Well, I chose red because it was the heart color today. Now, what I want you to understand is in form, we argue with each other because we are staring at our differences. But are we really different? Are you willing to see the rainbow? Because seeing the rainbow goes back to deep listening and having the emotional intelligence. And this takes practice. It's not slam dunk. The emotional intelligence to be able to hold for yourself what you believe and your perspective. And at the same time, not sacrificing yourself, at the same time, being able to hold somebody else's different budget priority, project priority, solving of the problem, political perspective. That's right, depending on even where you were raised, what colors you see have been defined for you. You're not necessarily aware of the other colors, perhaps, as far as diverse perspectives. So, why do you think I shared those two metaphors? I've been listening. And I want to honor and respect and love each person's expression. And you know, ultimately, I don't want people to feel rejected, not in a codependent way, but in a way that I want you to be a part of the beloved community. But if it's Frank Sinatra's way, final activity, and then we'll move on. I'd like for you to close your eyes for a moment and think about a person in this community. And if you're new today, then just picture somebody in your family. I'd like for you to assign the person you are thinking about a color. Assign them a color. And then assign them an attribute of God that you feel this person exudes. Do they exude life, light, love, peace, beauty, joy, compassion, creativity. You make up the word. Okay? All right. You may open your eyes, and what I would like you to do today, if possible, we happen to have social hour. If they're not available today, then by email or texting or whatever your communication with them is, I want you to let that person know what color you assigned them in the rainbow. You don't have to say why, just what color. It'll be interesting for them to see. And what expression or attribute of God you gave to them. That process alone in sharing with each other will help support and create a beloved community. Because now when you walk in the door and you say, my beloved community, you are recognizing all the diverse attributes of God the moment you step into the room. Who will commit to doing that? And how about beyond this Sunday? I know I might need reminders because it may not be a habit, but please, it would be wonderful, and I think we would feel the presence of God that is alive and well in each of you. Namaste.